It's not correct. Oh, no, hold it. What? I was an insider, and I know what goes on.
Perspecting it from all sides, politics and policy is played out by our politicians and policymakers.
Based on salary agreement, on the face of the new agreement. The question is that, Femi, what give us the third option?
No, we have two options. You can also Dr. Bashir, you give us two options.
Yeah, I'm not giving you two options. That's it.
Franco, thorough, incisive, and engaging interviews with high-profile guests, experts, and key stakeholders in different sectors.
We have been fighting.
Wasn't that the reason why your party
we have been fighting corruption in Nigeria since Nigeria was declared an independent country.
Join me, Femi Olanipekun, your host on Frank Talk, 9 to 10 a.m. every weekday on Rave 91.7 FM, where we have frank discussions and give you quality talk. Always.
You know, it would have been on record.
Hold it. When he came on board.
Beautiful Monday morning right here on Rave 91.7 FM. For us, it's a historic day. Was the very first day about a year ago that we first hit the airwaves in our own very unique and amazing way, serving you those amazing music at a particular point in time. Later on, the quality talk I've got added to the flow of what we serve you right here on Rave 91.7 FM. Welcome once again to Frank Talk, where we take a look at trending issues in the politics. We bring these issues closer to you. You have a better understanding and deeper insight into these issues. I'm talking to the key personality, the key stakeholders in all of the events and dramas happening all around us in our polity. My name is Femi Olanipekun. Today's edition of the program is a very special one. Well, just to take you down memory lane, it all started with our petition at some point in time about the state of the public finances here at Osun State, about the state of things in the state. A petition submitted to the House of Assembly some time ago that generated lots of controversy. She was deemed to be an unconventional judicial officer that, well, officers are meant to be heard and not really to be seen. We're taking a dive into that particular issue today and some of the other issues happening within the Nigerian judiciary today on Frank Talk on Rave 91.7 FM. Well, my guest this morning is Justice Olamide Oloyede, retired. Thank you very much for joining us this morning on Frank Talk on Rave 91.7 FM.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning. I'm delighted to be here.
Oh, well, great. You got retired recently by the NJC. Tell me, how did you get here? You are still a very, I should say, young in your profession. Tell me, how did you get here?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Olanipekun. Let me just say that my convictions got me here.
Your convictions?
Yes.
Convictions about what?
About the fact that every Nigerian is entitled and has the constitutional right, not just a right, but an obligation to participate in the governance of Nigeria.
Every Nigerian?
Yes.
Well, you wrote a petition at a particular point in time to the House of Assembly asking for the probe of the state of the finances of the state, making allegations against the, governor of the state at that particular point in time. Looking back, with the benefit of hindsight today, do you regret writing that particular petition?
Absolutely not.
You did not regret, even at this time when you were compulsorily retired by the NJC on the basis of what happened at a particular point in time?
Well, maybe I should put a caveat on that. I have no regrets about writing that petition. But I think, in retrospect, having the benefit of time, I have come to realize that maybe I did employ some languages that in respect of Mr. Governor Ogbeni Rauf Adesoji Aregbesola and his deputy Otumba Titilaoye Tomori, which I ought not to have. And so today I am tendering an unreserved and public apology for the choice of certain words, which I will not repeat. However, as far as the substance of that petition is concerned, I remain resolute. I am convinced that my actions were done in fidelity to my oath of office and to the Constitution of Nigeria, which I have sworn to uphold, and out of love for my nation as a state person, as a stateswoman and a patriot, and out of love for the general citizens of the state of Osun.
So, bar the choice of language, you have no regret about the petition or the content itself?
As we say in law, res ipsa locutor, the fact speaks for itself.
Well, looking at that particular petition, was it provoked by the state of things in the state, the deplorable state of things in the state, or, as some alleged, you were, doing the bidding of some people?
Well, as I said earlier, the petition speaks for itself. I would rather not go over the contents of the petition, which I believe you now have in your custody. My reasons for writing is clearly stated there. I am a person known for living my conviction. So, the only aspect of it which I regretted, I have said it. Every other thing, I meant it word for word.
But do you have, as some people have, tried to insinuate at the heat of the matter that maybe you had personal animosity with the governor or with the deputy or is a party? Was there anything of such at all?
The answer is no. Nothing personal. We never had a personal relationship. So there could not have been any reason to have any animosity against him. Our relationship is that of the head of one government to a member of another government. It never went beyond that.
But looking at the state of things, at this moment now, the judiciary itself, do you consider a judiciary in Nigeria rather too conservative, or would you recommend that judicial officers speak out a bit or loosen up a bit? It was thought that in your own case, judicial officers were meant to be heard and not to be seen.
Well, that is the philosophy of some people, some very, very conservative elements in the profession who feel that it is in the interest of, I can say some parochial interest and some selfish interest that judicial officers remain silent even when the country collapses over their head. I am not of that school of thought.
But there's been talk about, conflict of interest, saying if judicial officers are allowed to speak out their minds or, allowed to move away from that conservativeness, as it were, that in a case where an officer has spoken about an issue, that issue ends up in front of that officer, wouldn't there be a conflict of interest here?
Okay, maybe it is now time. The time is now ripe for me to tell you why I'm here this morning. I am here under the auspices of Virtues Unlimited Restorative Justice Initiative. We are a civil society organization who have as our objective the pursuit of inclusive development through the rule of law, advocacy for the justiciability of Chapter 2 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended in 2011, setting barometers for good governance at all levels in Nigeria, monitoring and evaluating performance of government at all levels in Nigeria, anti-graft advocacy, strengthening democratic institutions, advocating for an electoral process that is above board, voter education and election monitoring, poverty alleviation through women enlightenment and empowerment, child protection and youth development, environment justice, advocacy for law and judicial reforms for sustainable development. The passion for this particular NGO arose out of the perceived lacuna in the way affairs, in the treatment of judicial officers in the nation. If truth is to be said, the nation has not been fair to judicial officers in this land. Judicial officers are not meant to be heard, so they say. But who has been speaking for them since the passing on of Chief Gani Femi SAN of blessed memory? Who? Which organization? Which body has really bothered itself about the welfare of judicial officers in the land? Today we are hearing that judges are being arrested for graft. I am never a supporter of graft or corruption. Corruption for me in any form, in whatever guise, should be anathema to a judicial officer because of one thing, one paramount thing. We all take an oath in the name of the Almighty Father, the ruler of the multiverse, to uphold the ideals of social justice and democracy. And of course, upholding the ideals of social justice signifies that you must be balanced in your judgment. You cannot and be totally objective in the evaluation of facts as presented before you. You can therefore not afford under any circumstances. You can never be driven by fear, hunger, or any reason whatsoever to take side. That would be betraying your oath of office and taking the name of the Almighty in vain, which is a very grave transgression. Therefore, I will not excuse corruption in a judicial officer. However, the condition of service of judges and justices, is it fair? It is said that he who comes to equity must come with clean hands. Compare what judges, judicial officers, and I'm not speaking here as a beneficiary. I am retired from the service of the national or state judiciary, whatever. That does not derogate from my concern from the welfare of my erstwhile brother judges. Because you can only give what you have. You cannot expect people who don't get justice to give justice. Has Nigeria and Nigerians really given judges and justices and magistrates and president of district court and even customary court Babari Agbe judges the requisite tools to carry out their duties, the duties of their office, the functions of their office? Have they been that equipped? Have their capacities been well developed and enhanced? Is their welfare adequate and sufficient? Even if not sufficient, is it even adequate? How much does a judge earn in real terms?
So this condition of service, it's more about the pay. You're not satisfied with what judges earn at the moment compared with other officers in the Nigerian society.
Satisfied with the entire condition.
Aside
It
pay.
is not just about money. The general condition is repressive. The requisite impartiality, and I have my constitution here, we can check it. The requisite aura of dignity that should bestride the judiciary has not been there for a long time. Let's look at it. The remuneration of judges was last reviewed in the year 2008. I think I was the chief of administration in the judiciary then, the chief registrar. And it was fixed. Let us look at it. We are in 2016. Almost how many years ago now? 8 years ago. Has inflation not caught up with it? Compare what the average judicial officer earns in the land with what the other arms of government earn. It is ridiculous. It is belittling and denigrating of that office. And so, can you expect somebody who is not being justly treated to give you justice?
Okay, well, let's look at the present situation in Nigeria today. Over the weekend, some events played out. You made reference to it earlier on. The judiciary, as it were, seems to be on trial with the arrest of justices, including justices of the Supreme Court, one of the Court of Appeal, some of the Federal High Court. How would you describe that development?
Well, the judiciary's trial did not start over the weekend. The judiciary, the trial and the travails of the judiciary in Nigeria started a long time ago, when the average citizenry started losing confidence in their integrity. It has reached its climax now, so to speak, but it didn't just start over the weekend.
You said it started some time ago when the average Nigerian started losing confidence in integrity. Many people argue that was caused by judicial officers themselves who maybe traded justice as it were at that particular point in time when it started.
Well, without prejudice to the principles of presumption of innocence, I cannot in all sense of responsibility say that there is not some element of contributory responsibility in the fate that has now befallen all of us, whether you are past or present judicial officer. It doesn't matter. I'm sorry if I permit me to relapse to my native tongue. There is a proverb that says, "Entoloju loju ti." Oni ojú ti ara ilé ẹ kò tiẹ̀, ó ní tìjú nìyẹn. It's as simple as that. What affects one? Affects one, everyone. Once there is an allegation of corruption against a judicial officer, the smear and this law affects the entire temple of justice. That's the way I see it.
And this event of the weekend was, according to the presidency, a surgical operation. That sting operation was meant to be a surgical operation to weed out the bad elements in the judiciary. But then it has started a great debate in the country already. Do you think that the security agencies acted legally in effecting the arrest of those judicial officers with the way and manner it was carried out?
Well, maybe at this point in time, I need to tell you a little bit more about myself. I am a law teacher and a research fellow with the Lead City University, Ibadan. And as a law teacher, I hold the duty, at least to those whom I educate, to state the legal principles clearly and devoid of emotions. At the same time, the Constitution says that I should not allow sectional interest to becloud my loyalty to the nation or federation, as it may be. When you look at the provisions of the Constitution, which is the ground norm, the basis that gives backing to every other legislation, and you put it side by side the provisions of the Administrative of Criminal Justice Act 2015, you will look that you will see that the Administration of Criminal Justice Act gives the law enforcement agency the authority to arrest. And you also see that in the Constitution, judges are not amongst the category of public officers conferred with immunity. However, there is a rider. Because of the importance of integrity and dignity, the aura of that must be preserved around the temple of justice. Leaders of thought decided that if for any reason a judicial officer is thought or considered unfit to continue to function in that office, the procedure for his discipline must be slightly different. Not because of him, that person, but because of that institution that must be clothed with dignity. And so they decided to enshrine in the Constitution provisions for taking care of such situations. That is why we have the National Judicial Council, who are saddled with the responsibility of hearing complaints about judges' conduct or misconduct, howsoever, considering whether the case, the substance of the case against them merits that regalia being removed. Thereafter, the judge becomes just like any other citizen and should be treated, can be treated just like any other, suspect.
So you think this case should have followed the trajectory such that the NJC should have been approached first?
What I'm saying is, there is a distinction between having knowledge and having wisdom. When you are in office, you must pray that God gives you wisdom to apply your knowledge or whatever information comes into your hands. If, for instance, let me give you an example. A judicial officer who is perceived to have misconducted himself, there are provisions for his removal in the Constitution. It cannot be removed otherwise. Therefore, even if you arrest a judge and you arraign him, until that particular section of the Constitution is applied, he remains a judge. Is that not a desecration of the temple of justice? For a judicial officer's integrity to be impugned, for corruption, for bribery to be specific, is a desecration of the temple. When you now leave him in that office, because positive law allows you to, remember the admonition of Apostle Paul, that it is not everything that is lawful for me that is expedient. Meat is good, but if meat will cause my brother to stumble, I would rather not eat the meat. Fine, we should fight corruption. The Constitution makes it a duty And that is why I disagree with most people. I have a copy of my constitution here. I can read it. Section 15, subsection 5 says, the state shall fight corruption and abuse of power. Not just corruption, but abuse of power. But then, the subject of corruption, we don't have adequate that we will have defined corruption. Stating that an abuse of power is an overemphasis, because the greatest corruption, really, it is not bribery, it is abuse of power. That's the biggest form of corruption. Some people, money is not important to them. Power is more important. And when you abuse that power, it is corruption.
But, when you talk to many people, many Nigerians, they will tell you that the way we've been following the Constitution and fighting corruption is what has brought us to where we are. The administration got elected on a platform, on a mantra of change. We're going to fight corruption, fight it headlong. The NJC you talked about, many people will say has not been doing well enough in fighting that corruption or in dealing with errant members of the bench.
That would take me back to one of the objectives of Virtues Unlimited Restorative Justice Initiative, which is that we want to advocate for the justiciability of Chapter 2 of the 1999 Constitution as amended in 2011. Chapter 2 contains the fundamental objective and directive principle of state policies, which states what the obligation of the government should be to the citizenry. It is a beautifully crafted document, the 1999 Constitution, not minding the fact that there are some lapses that can be fine-tuned and which we should have done by now. Now, it is like, by making those provisions, if you don't mind, do we have time? I would have loved to read them out. Okay, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. It says, give me a minute. Chapter 2 is really the basis of our coming together as a people. It states our goal. Section 1 of the Constitution guarantees constitutional supremacy. And in Chapter 2, it says that Section 13, the three arms of government has the duty to conform to and observe and apply the provision of this chapter of this Constitution. Section 14 says the Federal Republic of Nigeria shall be a state based on the principles of democracy and social justice. It says sovereignty belongs to the people, from whom government through this Constitution derives all its powers and authority. The participation by the people in their government shall be ensured in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. The state shall foster a feeling of belonging and involvement among the various peoples of the Federation, to the end that loyalty to the nation shall override sectional loyalties. The state shall abolish all corrupt practices and abuse of power. The primary business of government is to create the enabling environment for the sustainable development of every citizen. The state shall, within the context of the ideas and objectives for which provisions are made in this Constitution, it goes on and on and states the directives, one of which is that the natural resources in the state shall be distributed in a way that we can all develop in an inclusive manner. Now, so those who drafted that Constitution gave us the grail with one hand. They gave us utopia, and they took it away with the other hand by making the provisions of those sections unjusticiable. That is where you have the right to be treated mainly to a living minimum wage, to good condition, care of the aged, free education, right to economic empowerment. Everything is in that section.
You think government at the moment is not towing that line of the Constitution?
Because the people who drafted that Constitution, the person who bestowed it upon us, decided in his own wisdom or lack of wisdom to make it unjusticeable. Therefore, giving with one hand and taking away with the second hand, that is the real corruption. Once that the provision of that section is made justiciable, corruption will die a natural death.
How can we make it justiciable?
The National Assembly has to amend the Constitution to reflect the fact that it is justiciable. And that is why Virtues Unlimited Restorative Justice Initiative exists. And I am calling on well-meaning Nigeria to support this endeavor and make sure that we put pressure on the National Assembly to make that part of the Constitution. That is the social contract between every Nigerian and the government. If we have that, and you can sue the government that I have a right to a house, I have a right to economic empowerment, I have a right to adequate shelter, when I grow old, I have a right that my country should take care of me. How then can a government, the office of government will become unappealing to greedy people?
Isn't that in the Constitution already for Nigerians to make use of? Isn't it the function of the fact that Nigerians themselves maybe don't have the legal knowledge to know that they have this right and can as well pursue it?
Yes, thank you very much. That is why, if you look at Section 22 of the Constitution, then you look at it, I can find it. Look at that offhand. We know that the social media has been failing in its responsibility. And that is why I'm grateful to Rave FM for affording us this opportunity, pro bono, free of charge, this morning. Section 22 of the Constitution, the 1999 Constitution as amended, this says that the press, radio, television and other agencies of the mass media shall at all times be free to uphold the fundamental objectives contained in this chapter and uphold the responsibility and accountability of the government to the people. So when we talk about corruption, the mass media in Nigeria has failed in its obligation, its constitutional obligation to the citizens of Nigeria. It is their role to educate the citizens. And we are here today to fill the gap, and we are grateful to Rave FM 91.7 for giving us for lending us a helping hand.
Okay, well, one other debate that has been on, will continue to be in the Nigeria stratosphere, is about immunity. Immunity for chief executives, especially for governors and maybe for the president. What do you make of immunity and that debate? Should it be withdrawn? Should governors and president be stripped of immunity, or should we leave it as it is at the moment?
Well, we are now starting to identify the real corruption. It is right that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. When you confer on an human being absolute power, it does not have the competence and the maturity to handle it. It has been tested. The human race has been in this path for millennia. And all for various forms. We've been evolving from living solitary, pastoral life, moving around. We gathered, became more civilized. We started culturing together, living in groups, in community, living in cities. That reminds me of Edmund Burke's statement that those who fail to learn from history are bound to repeat history.
Well, some have argued that if you remove immunity, it distracts the political office holders from performing the functions as given to them by the Constitution.
If you can be distracted, it means you are simply unfit for that office. The office of president or governor and their deputies is meant to go to the best among equals. It is meant to go to people who can think and function under pressure. It is not for mediocres. Therefore, if you can judges don't have immunities. They are under pressure. They perform. They are expected. Legislators don't have immunities. They are under pressure, they perform. Why should you be the exception? Look, if we are serious about checks and balances, we talk about in our constitution, we are really confused. We are a confused lot. We talk about checks and balances. When I was CR, I used to be amused. I'm a chief registrar, I'm a permanent secretary. Then you post me an auditor, a level 12 officer to query me, to monitor me. Does that begin to make sense? How is he going to face me to challenge my authority? Somebody that will monitor me must be at par with me. That is why we have, as one of our objectives, law reforms, law development and reform. And that is why I chose to become a law research fellow. Law is an instrument of social engineering. We have common goals here. The primary role of government is to create a level playing field where everybody can develop. You can't develop everybody at the same pace, but create the level enabling environment. And when you put somebody up and you say somebody below him should be the one sanctioning him, it becomes a contradiction in terms. It's simply impossible. So it is either the presidency, the executive, and the judiciary have the same immunity so that they can check each other and balance each other out. Otherwise, we are joking. It's either you confer the three arms of government with immunity or you take it out entirely. That is when you can really have checks and balances. And the rule of law only thrives on checks and balances. And the objective of the Constitution is to enthrone the rule of law.
All right. Well, because of our time, I will ask you, your history is well documented. But now that you are retired, you're still vibrant. Aside the initiative you talked about, the Virtues Unlimited Restorative Justice Initiative, what are your next plans?
Thank you very much. You said my history is well documented. I'm not aware that my biography, approved by me, has been written. I've read about people write about me, say things about me, view me from their own perspective. But I don't think those who are close to me have really been interviewed. Those who know me and my antecedents. A few here, sometimes they are right, sometimes they are not. Let me introduce myself all over again. I am Olanipekun, a senior lecturer and a senior research fellow with the Leeds Cities University. I am also the initiator of Virtues Unlimited Restorative Justice Initiative. I am passionate about justice and equity and good governance. I am not seeking political office. In fact, to be a member of the Board of Trustees of Virtues Unlimited, Bishop Adeoye is with us. The condition is that you must not seek political office unless you resign from that Board of Trustees. So this is not about politics, it is about good governance. We want to set barometers. We want to monitor and evaluate and set the standard in this nature so that Nigeria can come back and take its pride of place not only in Africa but in the committee of nations. Myself, you ask me what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing what I already told you. I will teach. I'm an educator. I'm a mentor. I'm also into consultancy because I can no longer practice law. But I will take on private investigation. I am a florist. I am not debarred from being an arbitrator. So those are the things I'll be doing, and I will continue to mentor the youth. My activities has been geared towards taking care of very indigent women. I am passionate about the care of the extremely deprived. I will continue in that line. I don't want to limit myself. For now, that is what I am doing. That is my focus. But the frontiers, I pray that Lord will broaden my horizon.
You intend, through activities, to deepen the culture of open society in Nigeria?
Well, if you choose to put it that way, yes.
Just before I open the lines,
transparency, accountability is important to the ideals of democracy, social justice, and the rule of law. So you are very correct to say that I intend to deepen the culture of open society. There is too much opaqueness in the way we are being governed. We have the Freedom of Information Act, but it's not being used. Government put so many clogs in your wheel. And the judiciary, I'm sorry to say, have not really been updoing as far as that is concerned. I believe that very shortly, very soon, the confidence in the judiciary will be restored, and many more people will have the confidence to approach the court to enforce the conditions of the Freedom of Information Act. Ask government questions and make sure that they give it.
All right. Well, just before I open the lines now, many people don't understand you, and you rightly noted it the other time, saying you've seen people write about you, view you from their own lenses, but then that you doubt if people closer to you, people who know you, have really been talked to. But then looking at all what has happened, it came at a great personal cost. If you have the opportunity of going back to that same spot, that position again, would you take that same step again?
Let me answer your question by saying this. I've often heard it said that Nigeria is not worth dying for. And I always tell people that is a very selfish notion. We all expect to live off Nigeria. In fact, we are sucking her dry. And then we say she's not worth dying for. Don't expect to live off Nigeria if you really believe that Nigeria is not worth dying for. That is my conviction.
All right. Well, we open the lines now for you to be part of this very interesting and illuminating program. I've been talking with Justice Olamide Oloyede, retired. We have been looking at issues, in the judiciary. She is a law teacher. She's a PhD student, a project officer. She is a law researcher also, and she said she's also a florist. We open the lines for you right now to be part of this conversation. We'd like you to keep your comments as very short as possible, just a minute each for everyone.
You can now join the conversation by calling 0703-175-9177, 0703-175-9177, and 0902-427-3808. You can equally make use of our social media platforms. For WhatsApp, 0703-175-9173, 0703-175-9173. Tweet at us at Rave917FM, and Facebook is Rave917FM. Do remember to turn down the volume on your radio set or move away from it. And please, let's keep our comments civil. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for staying with us right here. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Sakande from Iwo.
Thank you very much, Sakande. I'd like you to keep your comments short.
Okay, I appreciate your program. I used to appreciate you get to brought this morning. She's more of a lecturer than an interview. My questions to her are two, and it will be very brief. These are organizations. How long has it been in existence? Was it before or after exited from service? What is the criterion for membership of the organization?
All right.
I wish I were in a new pattern for justice or whatever.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Akode. Hello. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
My name is Mr. David. I'm calling from Osogbo.
David from Osogbo. Thank you for joining us.
I want to first of all thank the analyst. She's trying. I want to thank her very much. Thank you, ma'am. So my question for her is there any difference between the way our president is fighting corruption and the way the president of Philippines are fighting drugs. So, because if you check some of them, you see many abuse of power, many abuse of human rights. I know respect for rule of law. But what can you say about that?
All right. Thank you very much. Let's take some messages on our social media platform before we take the next call. Here, this message reads: the ultimately retired judge is now an educator in the Leeds University. Is really vibrant. I pray may God bless all her endeavors in life. She has really spoken. That's from Holyfield, the president. Thank you very much. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you for joining us. What's your name? Are you calling from?
My name is Kende from Otanibaji.
Thank you, Mr. Kende.
I want to appreciate the analyst you brought this morning. He has delved thoroughly on the issue at hand. But, hello?
I'm with you.
Hello, but what I want to say, as regards the issue of the onslaught against judiciary presently, is that judiciary caused their problem because of corruption. We should
Oh, okay. Well, this message is from Ajiboye Olanipekun Lakeside. The action of arresting judges may not get a clap, but I don't think it should be slapped. It is true that judiciary is not on trial, but corruption, and we don't need all the complaints because the trial will be conducted in the court of law. Thank you very much, Ajiboye. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Femi. My name is Olanipekun.
Thank you very much for joining us.
And I'm calling from Oshogbo.
Thank you for joining us.
Well, I think everybody listening to this program should just stand up for this woman of substance that God has given us in Osun State. As a matter of fact, I'm proud to be an Ijesha person and I'm proud to be an Osun State person. And I expect that everyone who has contributed to how this woman of virtue left the bench should cover their eyes in shame. However, we are saying that God has given us this woman. It's important for us to rally around her now to make sure that that organization is given the support that is needed to bring Nigeria to the point that we expect her to be. If you follow that, what that woman has said this morning, I have never had this thing said from Sam. I never knew we had somebody this intelligent amongst us in this state. And it is important to take it from there and to know that the political class currently has currently conspired in Nigeria does not have the interest of the people at heart. However, if we follow it up from there, from where she has taken it, we'll get close to where we're going, and Nigeria will better for all of us.
Thank you very much, Wale. Lord, what this message reads, may God continue to uphold justice. Oloyede, she has a reserved place in the history of Osun State. If the state ever survives this seeming collapse. Oladele Bamiji from Osogbo, thank you very much. Hello, good morning. That dropped. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you for joining us. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm Ayobami.
Where are you calling from?
Yeah, I'm calling from Osogbo. Justice Olóyèdé was my boss at the High Court of Justice before I retired. I know her. I had a question for her. The injustice that was done to her, is she ready to seek a redress at a later date?
All right.
So that we join her in prayers.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Fakir. This message is from Samuel from Ila. Good morning, Mr. Femi. It's true that we have a constitution, but the way we use it is far different from what is stated. I can say it only works on some certain people, not all, in which a thief who stole 5,000 naira being sentenced to 3 years imprisonment compared to someone who stole government funds and being set free. Please, ma, what can you say about this? Okay, let's take this last call, then we get to the reaction of Justice Oloyede. Hello, good morning. That dropped. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Dele. I'm calling from Ede.
Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
I'd like to salute the courage of Justice Oloyede. Not the courage of that time, but even the courage of today, for admitting that she made some error. That she made emotional error in the use of language. Hello?
I'm with you, sir.
I think that is very commendable when you know that there is no fairness in your action. But even then, I want to ask her to her conscience, is she not acting, even apologizing now, under pressure? Please, madam, speak the truth. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that question. Many questions really for Justice Oloyede to react to, but then let's take, my producer said I can still take a couple of more calls. This message reads, good morning, Mr. Femi. I'm delighted with the speaker, and it will be great if our judges and lawyers stand and speak for truth, not their personal selfishness. You are retired for your truthfulness, and I pray God will continue to uphold you. Mark Agbo from Ileife. This call. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you for joining us. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, I'm Samuel calling from Oshogo.
Thank you, Mr. Samuel.
Yeah, I want to appreciate the guest speaker. She's been wonderful. She's about the most brilliant guest you have brought. I think I got in confused. Yeah, on the issue of the judges that were said to have attacked, attacks, I think attacking 2, 3, or 4 judges among thousands of judges we have in Nigeria should not be seen as an attack to judiciary. No. And also, she talked about remuneration of judges as an excuse for them probably to take bribe and things like that. I think the government is not fair to everybody, not only the judges, the doctors, the lawyers, the administrators, everybody. But it will never be an excuse for anybody to take bribe. So Nigeria should all come together and let us fight corruption, whichever way it is fought. Anybody that has, taken bribe, or perpetrated corruption or corrupt or anything, let us fight against them. A system that gives room for one person to eat the food that is meant for 1,000, I think that system cannot last.
All right, thank you very much, Samuel. Thank you for your calls. The phone line is still buzzing, but then we just need to get Justice Oloyede to react to many of the questions now. Thank you very much for staying with us right here patiently. Well, Mr. Konde from Iwa asked if this particular organization that you are the initiator now was set up while you are in office or after you are retired.
Let me just say that the desire, the fashioning of the objectives of the organization was born out of my experiences throughout my course of life. Like I've always said it was as if I was even prophesying my last day in office in the last legal year. After delivering a couple of judgments, I announced that my wish is to retire into becoming a law teacher. Never knowing that I was going to be recommended for retirement the following week. I didn't know. I had no inkling. That is the truth. Because as far as I'm concerned, I had not done anything, and I stand on that conviction, that is against my judicial oath of office.
All right. Well, someone
Going forward.
Okay.
Going forward, please. Virtues Unlimited. When I was a magistrate and I presided over the juvenile court, I came to the recognition of the fact that many of the recidivists, the children who were in brushes, in conflict with the law, came from homes of very indigent families. They lacked motherly care. They lacked nourishment and training. The right parenting skills were obsolently lacking in their parents. That was when the recognition and the yearning dawned on me. The yearning started to build up on me. To help women. To empower women who are very, very vulnerable due to poverty. I started doing my own bit privately. The organization was not registered. I started helping women, children in need privately. But it was, we are coming out with this organization for the first time today. That's the truth.
All right. Someone asked if you'll be seeking redress for what happened to you at any time.
I won't be speaking about that on air, please.
Okay, and then another person asked if your apology for the choice of words and language you used at that time was under duress. Are you under pressure to apologize for those choice of words?
Somebody, a good friend, advised me when this matter was raging. People were ready to take me before Mr. Governor to apologize. People appealed to me, they begged me. And I said, look, by nature, I don't do things that I don't believe in. What am I apologizing for? But the girl movement prevailed. They said, you are a woman. Even if you have complaints, you must put it forward in a refined manner. The grail is about refining the human spirit. And so you cannot let down your bridge as a woman to descend to using some languages. And because I am convinced of the value of the grail message to the human spirit development, I had a second thought. I started thinking and reflecting. And I realized that there are some words I could have put across my message using more becoming language. Like I said, what prayer? My conscience. We are always under prayer from our conscience. Is it that we listen or we snub our conscience? My conscience told me, okay, assuming but not considering the fact that Mr. Governor was wrong, you could tell him he was wrong in a polite manner, and I've apologized. But the substance of my petition remains valid. I stand on it.
All right. Okay. Have you had any opportunity of a meeting with Mr. Governor since that time, or the Deputy Governor?
I don't want to tell lies. I am not given to telling lies. Actually, I avoided. There were a series of meetings, judges meeting with Mr. Governor, which I deliberately did not attend because I did not want to apologize to him, letting him thinking that I am doing so because I want to save my job. Now that the job is gone, it is clear that that apology is coming from a convinced spirit.
Well, thank you very much for joining us this morning on Frank Talk on Rave 91.7 FM. I've been speaking with Justice Olamide Oloyede retired. We've been looking at issues surrounding the petition she wrote about more than a year ago now, the issues surrounding a compulsory retirement by the National Judicial Council, and also about some of the issues also in the judiciary and our constitution right here in Nigeria. Justice Oloyede retired is a law teacher. She's a PhD student. She's a project officer. She's a law researcher and a florist, really, I should say, and passionate about what she believes in, a conviction, and she has exhibited that right here on Frank Talk this morning. We'd like to appreciate you once again for coming on Frank Talk on Rave 91.7 FM.
Thank you for having me, Rave FM. God bless you.
Amen. On behalf of my team and executive producer, Femi Adefila, my name is Femi Olanipekun. Thanking you so much for listening and asking you to have a super week ahead of you. Good morning.
We notice that you've been coughing for about 2 weeks.